we're not born in Edinburg, we were born close by. And we took our scenic route to get to Edinburg. I was born in Far, actually in San Juan, but I grew up in Far, went to school off in Austin and came back to the Valley after a little stint in oil and gas with Conoco. And when I came back to the Valley in 1993, I started working in this new field called economic development. I started working for the city of Far, my hometown. First director in Far, there was no rules, nothing going on, nobody knew anything about economic development. We just knew that we were going to market the community. McAllen was already started, Edinburg actually started in 1990. So there was a few communities that were getting going and doing what we call economic development. But between then and now, things have really changed. Things have progressed in so many different ways. Technology has taken over for a lot of the things that we do or used to do. We've learned to collaborate together a lot more than before. And we've seen how the Valley has just continued to grow and blossom. It is something spectacular for some of us to have experienced all that growth in the last 30 years. And I know there are some of you guys who have been around for a while. I see some of you familiar faces in the crowd. Yeah. So I was in FAR for 3.5 years, and then I went to Mission Economic Development, and Paul Rodriguez was actually my chairman. And so I learned a lot from Paul, and learned a lot from Beto Salinas when he was mayor over there as well. I left Mission and then got into the private sector for a few years, for about 10 years. And yes, I have my brokerage license. I ran NAI Ryoko for a little while, so I was up and down the border and got to experience a lot of what industrial development on the private sector side is. And then I came back in 2010 and ran a regional group called RESTEC, Rio South Texas Economic Council. Rio South Texas has kind of morphed into a whole bunch of other things. COSTEP is out there. The RGV partnership has taken over some of that stuff that has that occurred back then. But I was with RESTEC for a couple of years, and then took an offer in Harlingen just because I saw a lot of potential in Harlingen, and I was in Harlingen for 10 years doing what I'm doing here in Edinburg. But 2 years ago, an opportunity came up, and I could not pass it up when Edinburg had this opening, because I see a lot of potential in Edinburg. I've seen how Edinburg has continued to grow. And I'll talk about all those things in just a minute, but I just want to say that I'm blessed to be here. And I thank each and every one of you for being here today. Hopefully you learned something new. I always learn when I'm out here talking to people. This is how we operate. We try to learn from each other. And so I'll start by talking about the people behind the scenes, if you will. That's my board. Edinburg is a little different than most type A economic development corporations. The type A corporations are the type that are supposed to work on mostly industrial manufacturing type of companies, attraction of those, retention of those kind of companies. Edinburg actually said, you know what, we want to do that, but we also want to focus on quality of life, because you have to have a good quality of life to make sure that the companies that you're recruiting are happy here as well. And Edinburg has done a really good job of that, and we'll talk about some of those kind of projects in just a bit. But I have a 7-member board. This year, Ronnie Rivera is the president. Raul Resendez is the vice president. Mark Moran is new to the board. He's serving as secretary. Richard Gonzalez has been on the board for about a year, and he serves as our treasurer. Veronica Gonzalez is with UT RGV, but she was the past president and is a director. Sandra Lanise is a new member of the board. And Dan Diaz is not only on the board, but he also serves as mayor pro tem and sits side by side with the mayor and the rest of the council members. And we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my staff. My job's the easy part. I just come and talk. They do everything else behind the scenes. Yanira Rivera is our newest addition to the staff. Samantha Martinez is the person who runs my office. Raudel Garza is our project manager, and Letty Pantoja is another project manager. And then Jackie is the one behind the camera and doing all the marketing also for us. So that's my team. And now we'll start talking a little bit about Edinburg. I'm going to talk a little bit about population, demographics, that kind of thing, some of the things that are happening in terms of our infrastructure. We'll talk also about business in general, education. As you know, Edinburg is the hotbed for education in terms of UT Rio Grande Valley, South Texas ISD, and Edinburg CISD is the largest school district in South Texas. So a lot of good things happening, and I'll talk about those in detail in just a minute. The mayor had talked about we're slightly over 100,000 people. We're actually growing at a very, very fast rate. From 2020 to 2024, we were growing at the 7th fastest pace in Texas at 7.5% over those 4 years. Among cities that are at least 100,000 in the nation, we're number 12. In the nation, we're number 12. In the nation, we're number 12. That's an impressive number, guys. That shows how fast, not just Edinburg, but the valley itself is growing. We've experienced some really, really great growth. We're, again, ranked in the top. Yes, the region is growing. I remember when we talked about the region being almost as big as El Paso. We were almost 900,000 people a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
We're 1.4, almost 1.5 million people now. We're bigger than El Paso. And if you look at not just our side of the river, but on the Mexican side as well, we're well over, 3.5 million people. Edinburg, by itself, in 2023, had almost $400,000 or $400 million in construction activity. $400 million in construction activity. The year before, we had over $320 million. So those are huge numbers for a small community, except we're not small anymore. Right now, we have 5,800 lots that are under development at one point or another, so there's a lot of subdivisions that are coming up. If you start doing the math on that, there's an average of almost 3 people per household. So 5,800 times 3, that's a lot of people coming up in the very near future. And so that's a big challenge for council to make sure that they have the infrastructure necessary to accommodate all that growth. We are still very affordable in terms of our median household income, in terms of our median home values. Our home ownership is still much higher than a lot of other places. So we're continuing to build homes, and we're continuing to grow. 57,000 or so is our median household income. We have over 4,800 businesses that are choosing Edinburg as their home. And during the day, because of UTRGV, because of the courthouse and the hospitals, we have a daytime population of well over 4 million here in Edinburg itself. So we more than doubled our size throughout the day. So those are the demographics that retailers look at, and they say, oh wow, we should be there. And that's what we're trying to sell. Our top employers, we have 10 top employers on the screen. They represent over 32,000 employees. DHR is the biggest one at almost 6,400. UTRGV is a big one at 5,257. Edinburg School District is almost at 5,000. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol has over 3,700 agents and employees out there. The county itself has over 3,500 employees. South Texas Health Systems, 3,300 employees. The city of Edinburg itself is almost at 1,600 employees. Maximus, one of our call centers, is at 1,400. Region 1, again, education is over 1,300. And then in the healthcare industry, of course, Tropical Texas Medical Behavioral Health is at just slightly over 1,000. That's a lot of major employers. The thing that drives a lot of our economy here in Edinburg is healthcare. We have probably about 35 to 40% of our workforce involved in healthcare. And three of the big players in our healthcare industry are DHR, South Texas Health Systems, and now Bristol Children's Hospital. DHR has, like I said, over 6,400 employees. They're one of only 5 hospitals in the country that have this ion procedure for lung cancer detection and treatment. One of 5, so that's something that's pretty amazing. They're the largest hospital system in the valley now at over 673 beds, and they continue to grow. And then South Texas Health System has over 3,300 employees. They too have done some really good work in terms of their recent growth. A couple of years ago, they grew their hospital, built a new wing, spent about $220 million out there. They were the first designated level 2 trauma center in Hidalgo County. They've got almost 300 beds, and U.S. News and World Reports actually, for 3 years in a row, has named them the best regional hospital in Texas. That's a pretty impressive stat as well. Driscoll's a new guy in town. They've been in Corpus for a while, but they saw a need to expand their services into the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. They have over 1,000 employees. They opened up this past May with almost 120 pediatric beds, and they are obviously going to make a huge impact on our economy. Edinburg CISD has quite a bit of schools. Like I said, it's one of the largest school districts here in the Rio Grande Valley. 42 different schools, over 34,000 students across a very large school district. Not to be outdone, South Texas ISD has a large campus here, actually several campuses here, World Scholars and the Preparatory Academy. It is number 3 in district in Texas for the number of IB graduates. So World Scholars is pushing out a lot of very smart young kids, and those kids are going to be part of our future workforce. The South Texas Preparatory Academy actually has high school credits at the middle school level, 17 of which can be earned as these kids are going through just the middle school. And it's ranked 2nd in Texas out of 883 school districts. That's an amazing number. Of course, UTRGV, you guys have heard a lot about UTRGV lately. They have now well over 34,000 students, ranking them as the 9th largest university in the state. Washington Monthly continues to crown them as the #1 university in Texas. They have the Hager building, which the mayor had talked about earlier, is being converted into a work center, Workforce Economy Research and Community Center, and that's going to have basically a one-stop shop for startup companies. They're also going to start an advanced manufacturing incubator in that building. If you have an idea, want to get started, and need some help in formulating your business plan, that's going to be the place to go. That's going to be the big resource center for a lot of people. We're the only school in Texas that has a podiatry school and a medical school within the same system. So the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley is alone in that category. And it's also one of the lowest cost universities. So that's another big plus for us in attracting people into the area. And of course, like they did in Arlington and in McAllen as well, Edinburg CISD partnered up with the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley and created a collegiate high school. It's a great campus. You'll pass it on our tour, and we'll talk about it and point it out to y'all. But the big thing is Division I football coming up next year. So, a lot of excitement in that. Obviously, UTRGV has sold out its season tickets allotment already. It's over 6,000 seats of the 10,000 that are available. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things that are going to happen. It's going to happen right here in Edinburg. Okay, and that happened because the mayor and the council really pushed to make sure that UTRGV kept the football team here locally. They did a lot to help encourage that. UTRGV is spending a lot of money, investing a lot of money in its campus, on its football stadium. Well over $121 million that's being spent here in Edinburg, and that's obviously going to produce a lot more in the future. They've talked about, you know, the impact that football is going to have on the community on the weekends when they're in town. I think that it's more than anything, it's going to start giving our younger population something that a lot of other big cities have. Now we're going to have it here in the Rio Grande Valley, and we're going to have it here in Edinburg. You know, people go to the university, and on Saturday mornings they get ready to tailgate, and then maybe someday college game day will be here too. You know, we never know. So I'm looking forward to that day. The life has been here in Edinburg. A lot of great things I talked about don't happen on their own. You know, Burdock Arena is home to the four-time NBA G League champs, the RGV Vipers. The Burdock Arena was a public-private partnership, and still is a public-private partnership between the city and the owners of the arena. We have invested in inclusive parks, and when I say we, it's the Economic Development Corporation has funded some inclusive parks and splash pads to make sure that we're not only taking care of kids who can, but kids who are challenged. And that's part of what this community is all about. That's part of the engagement that the mayor has been talking about. And then another part of the engagement is that we have right next to us the amphitheater park that is really, really nice. A lot of concerts going on during the summers and then even in the winter. You'll see that Edinburg has a lot of things going on that are extracurricular activities, if you will. At nights you can go catch a football game, a baseball game, soccer fields, a lot of little league stuff going on. There's over 100 teams involved in a lot of the diamond playing. We have 7 unique races, different 5K runs and whatnot that are happening here. And for you cyclists like me, we started the SB 250 here last year. And we started in Edinburg and we rode all the way to San Antonio. And there's over 30 festivals happening here in Edinburg. So there's always something going on here in Edinburg. Always something that's driving the traffic over here. We're going to drive by the airport and talk a little bit about the airport. I'm glancing at it right now in terms of some of the information that we're going to talk about. The airport is a 5,000 linear foot runway. It is open 24 hours a day in terms of fuel service. It's a full service airport. There's actually U.S. Customs there as well. For those that are coming from Mexico, they can fly into our airport and be taken care of with just immediate notice. The airport is going through a lot of future changes. We did receive some monies from the state, TxDOT, for expansion of that runway. We ourselves are just finishing up a master plan for the airport, which includes making some land available for industrial development, for logistics, for aeronautical and non-aeronautical use. So there's about 300 acres on the south side of the airport, south of the runway, that's going to be developed in the near future. But the master plan was the first step in trying to make sure that we identify all the different costs associated with development of that space. Utilities are very important here in Edinburg as we continue to grow. There's going to be a bigger demand for water, for power, and for all the other necessities. The city of Edinburg is building a new million-gallon water tank right now on the north side, and it really do wonders for the pressure out there, not just for residential use, but also for industrial park on the north side of town. The Edinburg EDC contributed $2 million of that $8 million cost for that water tower. That's why we got our logo on there. A lot of good things happening. Just in the recent few months, we had Buffalo Wild Wings Go, Michael's Panera Bread, Bedrose Salad Station, Cinnaholic, Dunkin' Donuts, Jersey Mike's, Dutch Brothers, Dave's Hot Chicken, Play Street Museum, Seven Brews, Subway. I can keep on talking about all the different stores and food eateries that are opening up. And then Courtyard is going to start construction of their 104-room hotel really soon also. So there's a lot of good things going on in Edinburg in terms of retail and commercial development. On the screen you see 6 of the retail development sites that we'll talk about as we drive through town. For those of you who aren't going, I'll talk a little bit about some of these. The Shops at Rio Grande is the largest of the shopping centers here in town. It covers over 500,000 square feet of leasable space. Michael's opened up just about a year ago in December of 2023. Dutch Brothers opened up this summer. There's another active prospect that's going to be opening up. I can't announce it yet, but another eatery that's opening up next to Dutch Brothers real soon. And of course, next to the Burlington is the 104-room Courtyard that's going up. The Shops is also working on some national sit-down restaurants. They're finalizing the lease. Once they finalize that lease, then we can announce it. But I'm sure you all will be happy with what they're doing. They're working on their phase 3, which is also a section of town of that center that's more of a town center, if you will, just north of the academy, northwest of the academy. They've got enough land there to develop some junior anchors, and that's what they're working on. Los Lagos Development, as Daniel Abad and I were talking about earlier, Global Banker is going to be helping Mr. Lopez in leasing out these 2 plazas, 2 developments that will pass by that property, just right next to Los Lagos Golf Course and right next to the football stadium as well. University Drive, Highway 107 is one of those main thoroughfares that we're focusing on. Obviously, a lot of things happen there because of the university itself. There's not a lot of land available along University Drive between the courthouse and going west. If you're looking at a big chunk of land, I can point out on the bus trip a couple of pieces that are out there, and they're great development and investment pieces. Other than that, it's getting tight because everybody wants to be close to the university. There's a big student population, and obviously that drives a lot of traffic, and the folks that are doing business here are doing very well. We're pushing our limits all the way to the city limits of Edinburg on the west side. Some of you may not have known this, but we go all the way to 10th Street and Sprague in that area. So there's a new development called University Village, multifamily housing that has developed. And there's also some pad sites in the very front that are commercial. There's 5 of them that are basically already sold, and 4 more that are going to be under development real soon. Next to University Village, there's another piece of property that is also future development that they started clearing out not too long ago, and it's looking really exciting for some more pad site development along 107 on the west side of town. On Trenton and McCall, in that area, those corridors, a lot of new development also going on. Obviously, as you get close to the interstate, you'll start seeing a lot more activity. Like we said, Don Donuts, there's a Cafeteria, Korean Bistro, and Salad Station are some of the newer tenants are out there on some of the strip centers that are there. But just the fact that they're strip centers continue to grow shows that there's a demand for a lot of this space. On the north side of town, not to be neglected, there's a lot of good activity too. Murphy Express, Murphy USA is building a gas station, convenience store on the corner of Monte Cristo and 281. There has been some activity out there, but now it's starting to ramp up a little bit more. There's 2 other pad sites adjacent to them that are going to be developed as well. Both of them are fast food type of pad sites. They already have an idea of who the tenants tenants are gonna be. They haven't finalized the deals, but, it'll be something new for that part of town and exciting for us. So, new franchises coming in. Starbucks is, building right now under construction next to the Edinburg North High School, adjacent to the Church's Fried Chicken, pad that's out there right in front of, Junior Supermarket. So all that area is starting to grow quite a bit. And between Klausner and the Expressway on Monte Cristo, there's a lot of good activity going on right now. A lot of properties that are going through redevelopment as well. And so that's exciting for us to see. Going a little bit further north, and yes, we're kind of driving through town, talking about some of the exciting things going on, and I'll talk about it in even more detail on the bus ride. But Burns Brothers has developed La Sienna, it's a mixed-use plan development that is going on. A lot of new homes, some very nice large apartment complexes that have opened up, 288 units that opened up about a year ago. And it's just creating a lot of activity on the north side of town that we're gonna start seeing more and more of that. Off of Davis Road, the city owns 90 acres. We're studying how to develop those 90 acres possibly into a research park of some kind to try to bring in some more of those advanced manufacturing and technology jobs. So that's some of the exciting stuff going on. How does all this happen? Well, it all happens because there's a lot of good things going on at one time. And then our role is to try to make things easier for businesses to come in and choose Edinburg. And if they haven't chosen Edinburg and they're still on the fence about where to go, we basically have a package. We can customize a package of incentives for them to look at and try to attract them and make sure that they, get on the right side of the fence and jump over to the Edinburg side. We help out in the development process by our project managers, basically going step by step with our prospects and making sure they understand what the development process is. The city has a great staff, and Jay, I see him, assistant city manager in the back. If we have any questions on the development process, that's the guy. That's the guy that helps us with a lot of our projects and helping us with some of the good stuff that's happening right now. We do have infrastructure grants as well. A lot of the things we've done has been trying to be preemptive in terms of infrastructure. So sometimes it's hard to find properties that don't have infrastructure because we've already thought about that. We've already found that extra step and extended out the big trunk lines. But if we didn't, then come talk to us and maybe we can help out with that as well. We have job creation grants for the right type of businesses that are coming in, high-paying jobs that are technical in nature. Those are the ones that we're going to look at. Lift Fund is another program that we have for small businesses. There's all kinds of state and federal incentives as well, and I'll be glad to talk about those, but not right now because it takes a long time. But if you need something, we can certainly help your clients, your prospects, your own companies try to expand based on a lot of the information that we have. We have created in Edinburg quite a few tax increment reinvestment zones. If there's a large project that wants to develop a large tract of land, that's another option in terms of the economic development tools that we have. We also have a commercial recruitment program, which for a lot of you who are working on the commercial and the retail side, we're basically giving back a portion of the sales tax that a small business generates to that small business on an annual basis for up to 5 years. And this is one example. Salad Station is one of the examples of the companies that have participated in the commercial recruitment program. Tacos, RBG, Dave's Hot Chicken, Equipment Pro, Panera Bread, Don Pepe's, those were all recipients of the same program. I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't hear that, but anyway, Lucho and his wife were kind enough to do a video for us that talked about their business and how they took advantage of the commercial recruitment program. If y'all want details, it's on our website, first of all, edinburgedc.com. But we'd be glad to walk you through it. And for you who are in the real estate business and trying to fill up some of those strip centers, These are good programs for your tenants, and your tenants are eligible for these things. So it might help those prospective tenants sign a deal for your strip center here in Edinburg. On the industrial side, we also have a spec building program. It's not easy to qualify for it because we don't want to make it easy, but we know that there's a big demand for industrial space. As a matter of fact, we don't have a whole lot of industrial buildings in Edinburg that are vacant right now. That's the common theme throughout the Rio Grande Valley. But in Edinburg alone, it's very hard to find industrial space. We're missing out on some prospects from time to time because we don't have that space. And so we decided to put our money where our mouth is and say, okay, Mr. Industrial Development guy, you build us a 100,000 square foot building, and in the process of doing that, we're gonna help you market it. And then for the first 2 years of that construction process, we'll pay half of your interest on that construction loan. You know why we're doing that? Because we're so confident that we're not gonna have to pay it out, because we'll find those tenants for you before you finish that building. That's how big our demand is. And so that's one of the programs that we have. And if you want more details on that, I'd love to sit down with you and talk about it. One of our other popular programs that we had last year that we're just finishing up and we're going to start in round 2 is called our FLIP program. It's a facade and lot improvement program. So we set aside $400,000 of EDC monies to grant $10,000, up to $10,000 to up to 40 businesses. 38 of the businesses took advantage of it so far this last year, and this is an example on your screen of before and after. These guys really did a good job of fixing up their storefront. There's several other ones that did really fantastic jobs. Some of them had some wear and tear on their potholes and all that parking lots and that type of thing, and so they redid their parking areas, and we're just so glad to see some of them really clean up their facades and their existing parking lots. Why are we doing this? Because we want to make Edinburg even more attractive than it already is. So for this next round that's coming up in January, we're going to be focusing hopefully more on University Drive, and basically from the courthouse to the interstate. That's the area where a lot of people drive into town, and we want to make sure that when they drive into Edinburg, they're going to see something that's really nice and welcoming to them and welcoming to other new businesses as well. So that's one of the other programs that you all need to be looking out for, telling your friends and neighbors about it, and making sure that our existing businesses take advantage of that. Lift Fund, I talked briefly about it, but basically it's an interest buy down program. Lift Fund does small business loans up to $50,000 to small businesses at a 2.5% interest rate. It's typically at about 7 to 9, maybe 10%. Some of them are a little bit higher because most of the applicants are a little bit higher risk than most normal commercial lines. But we had, in this last fiscal year, 16 loans approved. The city and the EDC put in $100,000 total for the buy down. That was leveraged to well over $500,000 in loans, so our 5-to-1 return on our investment. And then in the future, we're going to be starting up some other small business initiatives, which include UTRGV Coffin Fast Track program. We're going to do a franchise workshop or franchisee workshop so that we can try to match. There's a big demand for some of the franchisors that we see in other parts of the country want to be in the Rio Grande Valley and in Edinburg in particular. And we know of those franchisors. We just got to find the franchisees and put it together with them. And that's where you all can come in as well. And then we're doing financial literacy trainings for the younger folks to make sure that they come up knowing exactly how to wisely spend their money and hang on to it and make it grow. We also get involved in internship programs. There was one that we recently participated in with 23 students. We committed $50,000 towards this initiative, and it was matched with the other funding from some other nonprofits and the local area. So again, we're part of a larger region, and when we talk Edinburg, we're not talking about Edinburg alone. We're talking about the Rio Grande Valley. We're talking about one region, one voice. That's what the partnership's all about. That's what we're all about. In order to get national retailers or national companies or international companies to take a look at us, they're not just going to look at a city that has 106,000 people in their population, but they will take a look at 1.4 million. They will take a look at a workforce of well over 50,000 that's available, and that's what we're pushing. So education is very important for us. Marketing the region as one, and Edinburg as part of that larger region is very important to us. And that's basically my spiel right now because we're almost at 10 o'clock. But if anybody has any questions who's not going on the bus, this is your time to ask about Edinburg a little bit, and we'll see if we can answer those questions. But yeah, at 10 o'clock, I don't know if the bus is here yet, but we will be getting together and heading out in a little bit. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate